This is CBC Here and Now.
I, James Dinn, swear that I'm fully qualified.
New faces at the House of Assembly as the MHAs are sworn in after winning their districts in last month's election.
I wouldn't call it a successful project.
Pay the fine or go to jail. A provincial pilot project could have seen that happen. That CBC Investigates story coming up on Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Debbie Cooper.
And I'm Anthony Germain. The Legislature reopened today with a new government.
It began with the swearing in.
Alison Coffin, do affirm that I am fully qualified to hold the office.
NDP leader Alison Coffin is one of the new MHAs sworn in this morning. She took over the leadership this past winter before heading into last month's election. And another new face in the House is Leela Evans, the PC MHA for Torngat Mountains. Evans was born and raised in the district and lives in Makkovik. The leader of the opposition, Ches Crosby, was also sworn in today, and his parents, former politician John Crosby and Jane Crosby, watched from the gallery. Here Now's Katie Breen was at today's swearing in. Katie, what stands out for you?
Well, a few things. For one, the missing district. Only 39 of 40 MHAs were sworn in today. That's because Labrador West is still undecided. There's a recount happening there, and until that's finished up, that MHA hasn't been sworn in. But as for the people who were there today, a set of siblings. Paul Dinn is with the PCs. His brother Jim Dinn is with the NDP. They're both relatively new to the legislature, but a few veteran politicians were sworn in too. Liberal Tom Osborne was first elected in 1996. That makes him the longest consecutively serving MHA in the province's history. Today was his 7th swearing-in ceremony.
Now, the throne speech, Katie, came after the swearing-in, a fairly brief one this time, with Lieutenant Governor Judy Foote asking elected officials to get along, given it is a minority government. Does it seem like that's going to happen?
Well, they certainly say that's the goal, but it appears that there is some growing pains that they have to get through first. Government plans to put forward its budget tomorrow. Ball says it'll be the exact same budget he put out ahead of the election. The PCs have penned a letter making some recommendations, but it's clear they won't be included right away. Ball, however, says they could be considered in the future.
Today was more about, after the budget is done or whatever, we could actually find some way through legislative changes and so on to get to some of those initiatives.
I'll just say that this is a fluid process, and as I said, it's not an ultimatum. It's not a list of take it or leave it or anything like that. It's a list of discussion points, let's put it that way.
And certainly I've been talking to both of the leaders, and where we found a number of areas whereby we could move a lot of our mutual interest forward. So collaboration, again, we're in day one. Collaboration is going to take a little while to shape up and form up, but certainly there seems to be a willingness on the part of all the individuals, from my perspective at least.
Now, government needs to pass a budget because approved spending runs out at the end of the month. Ball is saying that he's going to apply for an extension just in case the budget passing process ends up taking a little longer. Live in the newsroom, I'm Katie Breen for Here and Now.
Well, it's back to normal inside the Confederation building. Outside, those opposed to Muskrat Falls protested. Representatives of Social Justice Co-op NL presented a petition with more than 15,000 signatures from across the country. They're asking that the Muskrat Falls Dam be cleared to prevent the release of any methyl mercury.
Now that the government is back to the business of actually serving the people, that they will finally listen and take action on these crucial matters. Because we're talking about people's health and safety, the rights of Indigenous communities, and whether people will continue to live healthy lives where they can eat their traditional foods.
Much cooler temperatures as we start the week. Temperatures in the single digits right along the northeast coast, 7 degrees in St. John's. We're getting into those double digits though for the rest of the island and then up through Labrador. 21 degrees in Lab City right now, or was the high rather today. So we can thank this area of low pressure that's spinning off the coast for that rain, drizzle, and fog. And you can see just how large this system is when you zoom out here. That's going to continue to pull away as we head through the overnight tonight with some clear skies on tap for the southwest. But that also means we're in some frost warning. So I'll have all those details and your full forecast coming up.
Power at the Miller Centre in St. John's has been restored. The facility has been running on a generator for days now. A transformer blew on Thursday. Power was eventually restored yesterday evening. Now, Eastern Health says all affected outpatient appointments will resume tomorrow, while inpatient programs have returned to normal already. Concerns were raised over the weekend about the lack of air conditioning in the building during this power outage. Daryl Hutchings' father is a patient at the Miller Centre, and he said conditions inside the building this weekend were very warm and very humid, which made it uncomfortable for recovering patients like his dad.
Tonight on CBC Investigates, a pilot project that was quietly launched nearly 5 years ago to tackle a big problem: millions and millions of dollars in unpaid traffic fines. That pilot project could have sent people to jail for not paying their tickets. Rob Antle has been following this story for years. Here's what he found out about the project and what's coming next.
No one likes getting a traffic ticket, but most people pay up, about 80%. Online, by the mail, or by phone, or by coming here. But that leaves a minority who don't, and that small number of people have created a big problem. Unpaid fines totaling $40 million.
The amount of outstanding fines are getting older, and the amount of outstanding fines where people owe fairly significant amounts is getting bigger.
5 years ago, the Auditor General put this problem under the microscope. Soon after, the police and Justice Department officials began to talk about possible solutions. They decided to try a pilot project. Basically this: if you don't pay the fine, you could end up doing time. Years went by, and so did dozens of court appearances. The last of the 4 test cases dropped this January. No cash, no jail time, no real results.
It was very time consuming, it was very resource heavy, and at the end of the day you weren't recovering much of anything, which defeats the whole purpose.
Andrew Parsons inherited the plan when he took over as Justice Minister 3.5 years ago and allowed it to continue to see what would happen.
It had some momentum and died a very slow, unnoticeable death.
That's now in the past. Up ahead, a new initiative in the works for a while, allowing people to do community service to work off their fines.
It has a different approach that I think accomplishes more good, hopefully, than what the previous one did. What we're hoping to do now with this pilot project is to set up a system where people can basically contribute time and service in lieu of the money that they're owing that they just have not been paying. And in many cases, for poverty reasons, they cannot pay.
Parsons acknowledges that the majority of drivers who pay their fines may not be happy seeing others pile up big debts, but this is the best option going forward.
I don't think putting this person in jail is going to do anything. We don't get any money back. It's costing us money. And how does that benefit anybody? There is no benefit to this, but we have organizations and groups out there that could benefit from effort, from work. And so we're going to try it. And to me, it's nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Parsons says the final details are being worked out, and not everyone will qualify. The new pilot project is expected to launch this fall. Rob Antle, CBC News, St. John's.
There are questions tonight about why an old pig farm on the northeast Avalon hasn't been torn down despite several fires on the property. Well, firefighters had to cut down wires and gates to get to the site of the fire in Portugal Cove, St. Phillips on Saturday morning. The provincial government owns the vacant farm. It hasn't been in operation since the late 90s. However, there have been at least 3 fires there since then. And that worries the mayor of Portugal Cove, St. Phillips, who plans to take her concerns to the government.
Was mad because the buildings were still there and nothing had been done about them. And, of course, the fire department who had to go and tend to the fire. It's a danger to the fire department. The volunteers who had to go in there to fight this fire, hard to get to, had to cut down wire and gates and whatever to get to the fire. And what could you do with it? It's an empty building, abandoned.
A lengthy battle involving land, buildings, and the public water supply on Bell Island has finally come to an end. In 2015, the sale of the town's aging fire hall and the accidental sale of the town's water system inside led to a bitter dispute between the buyer and the town. As Here Now Cease Hair reports, despite a settlement, there's still a bit of fight left.
When Jim Bennett bought the property 4 years ago, it included this building by mistake, the building that houses the town's water supply. All Jim Bennett wanted was to sell his handmade furniture from the old fire hall on the right. But he also ended up with the town's drinking water supply system, that little building on the left. There was a long, ugly fight between him and the town, and now it's finally over.
The town has 90 days to remove the building that Beachstone has given the town back. So they have to remove it from our property within 90 days. We've offered it back at no charge to the town.
Bennett says there's no joy in the settlement because it's a solution he offered the town 2 years ago. And as the letters and lawyers' fees piled up, he says there was an added insult when the town filed a lawsuit against him. He says all he wanted was protection from liability should anything happen to any one of the hundreds of people showing up every day to get their drinking water. This 4-year battle with the town comes with a heavy price, not only emotional and psychological, but there's a financial price too. He now has to sell his building.
It's almost bankrupted us a couple of times. It cost our company a lot. We had to sell equipment. We had to sell land. It's been a time, I'll tell you.
So how did the town end up selling its water system by mistake? Something very basic in real estate transactions was missed. No one asked for a survey, not one lawyer. Wabana Mayor Gary Gazine says from an insurance standpoint, despite the error, people accessing the site were always protected. And as for the inaction on the survey,
there was a mistake made, but life goes on.
Meanwhile, back at the fire hall, Jim Bennett says this isn't over. During the dispute, he says he lost customers and credibility. He's considering legal action, seeking damages for what he says is damage to his reputation and business. Cease Hair, CBC News, Bell Island.
A man accused of murder in St. John's was linked to a getaway vehicle today in court. The second-degree murder trial of Craig Pope is into its 4th day now, and while today's testimony wasn't exactly thrilling, it provides a big piece of evidence for the Crown. Here Now's Ryan Cook reports.
Sergeant Ron Sims went into painstaking detail this morning on how he matched a palm print found on a taxi cab to Craig Pope's left hand, and how that definitely links Craig Pope to a vehicle seen leaving the scene of the crime. And that vehicle came here to the Elizabeth Avenue area where Pope was eventually detained by police. This was the taxi cab impounded by police on September 7th, 2017. The driver is expected to testify later in the trial that he spent the day driving Craig Pope and Jonathan Collins around the city. A fight broke out at the last stop. Collins was stabbed, and witnesses say Pope left in the cab. Police were told Pope was dropped off near Stab Court, of all places, and he was later detained outside of a plastic surgery clinic. Pope was spotted inside the clinic making an appointment.
That palm print is the only piece of forensic evidence introduced so far that links Pope to the crime.
Tomorrow we'll hear from a DNA expert who will speak about blood droplets found inside and outside the cab. We may also learn whether or not a knife found in a backpack near the scene is the murder weapon. Ryan Cook, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, there was a different kind of traffic on Kitty Vitty Lake this weekend. If you happen to look to the sky on Saturday, you may have seen some float planes gliding in and around St. John's. Wondering, what are they doing there? Well, it's just one of many events marking Alcock and Brown's first non-stop transatlantic flight. The 100th anniversary now just days away, and the CBC swung by the lake Saturday to take it all in.
It's certainly cool, yeah, and fortunately I did managed to execute a reasonable landing today. So that's very important with all of the critics that are around here today as well. There'll be lots of fellows here to give you criticism today if you didn't do a good job, I can assure you. We had quite a long application to fill out in order to get permission to land here. It had to be approved by the city, by Transport Canada. The Alcock and Brown Committee have a lot of activities planned, as I say, during the next few weeks. But on the 14th in particular, there's going to be a reception on Friday morning at the Provincial Airlines hangars. And later on that day, then they're going to have a commemorative flight at which they'll have 50 seats available for different personnel to partake in that historic event, and we're all looking very forward to that. When you consider the difference in the technology nowadays as to what they had, it was really quite an accomplishment. I mean, you have to take your hat off to what these fellows did do under the circumstances at the time.
How you doing, buddy? Yeah, boy, couldn't stay warm. Yeah, gee whiz, came prepared.
Aircraft. Now, a little bit of history for you. It seems the first plane to land on Quidi Vidi did so in May of 1931. This article you see in the Evening Telegram says that aviator Douglas Fraser flew from Montreal to St. John's in 10 hours and 35 minutes and landed on Quidi Vidi Lake. Fraser purchased the Curtis Robin plane in Montreal and he flew it home to St. John's to start his new airline based at Quidi Vidi Lake called Old Colony Airways.
Still to come, we explain why an artist is using knitted doilies and spray paint to send a message about downtown St. John's.
And a spoiler alert, it's not the kind of message that people were getting from the recent Crime Stoppers poster campaign.
Welcome back to Here and Now. And before we get to the weather, you may notice we didn't air an ad showcasing a 90s-inspired Zach Gowdy.
It's skipping. That must mean the East Coast Trail Walk has finally happened. And Ashley, you were there.
I was there, yeah. Not a bad weekend as far as the weather goes for the East Coast Trail fundraiser, but I was able to hike. There we are there, from Witless Bay to Outer Cove. And
I haven't done that one yet. It looks great.
It is, well, you can see from some of the video here just how beautiful it was. It was socked in fog, but that's okay. It did lift eventually, but it's still beautiful in its own way. I can't wait to see that during the actual, when it's nice day.
Yeah, so you had a little bit of a lunch?
Yeah, we had some, once we finished the hike, we went and had some lunch, and then yeah,
of course.
And there's our crew.
There we all are.
This is so important, this fundraiser for the East Coast Trail Association. They had hoped to raise $75,000. This is their 25th anniversary, by the way. And word is they've reached $90,000.
Wow.
So
fantastic.
Great
job by everybody who took part.
Yeah, it was good. I'm definitely, like I said, going to go back and do that one again.
Why not?
Yeah.
Good
So
fundraiser
beautiful.
too. It
was lovely.
Exceeded expectations, which is always nice.
Yeah, and it was so nice to see everybody out on the trail and enjoying it. So yeah, for sure.
Next year.
So we could see the fog. We've had coolish weather. What's ahead?
Yeah. Well, let's get through this next, let's say, 12 hours, and then things should get a little bit better.
I used the F word earlier. Frost.
Frost.
Right.
I did.
Just
yeah.
Keep it clean. Yeah. It was frost.
Frost, yeah. Started that, I guess, Friday. We had those frost warnings, and we're there again. So we'll take a look at why we're going to see that. Those temperatures this afternoon, though, quite nice, dropping from 12 to 13, or rather, climbing to 12 to 13 degrees along the west coast there, 15 in Port aux Basques. And then those cooler temperatures again along the northeast coast, and temperatures so far right now still sitting similar in your 6 to 7 degree range, and then we've dropped a couple degrees for Corner Brook, sitting at 11 right now. So the reason why we are going to see some frost tonight is because clear skies should clear through the overnight as this low continues to track a little bit further east. So there's your frost warnings there. If you happen to plant anything that's sensitive, your little seedlings or your tomato plants, make sure that that is all covered up tonight. And really patchy frost anywhere along the south coast, anywhere where we're going to see those clearing skies. So there's a look at the chance of some showers overnight tonight, continuing into the early morning hours, and then the skies should clear quite nicely across the board. Here's a look at the temperatures, dipping down to near the 0 degree mark, just a degree above in Port aux Basques. Again, that patchy frost. Grand Falls winds are 3 degrees. St. John's still looking at that chance of a few showers. And 4 degrees with those northwesterlies, a little bit breezy, 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Lab City tonight dropping down to 4 degrees from the 21 that you're currently sitting at right now. 2 degrees for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and then Cartwright still looking at that chance and that onshore flow of that potential for some drizzle. Now, tomorrow afternoon, I did mention that we're going to see plenty of sunshine, but still that chance of some showers popping up in the afternoon. Just quickly, though, before we start to see some cloud cover move in the overnight, and that's the next weather system that's coming in. But those warmer temperatures are going to accompany that. So here's a look at the forecast. 14 degrees for St. John's, northwesterlies sticking around 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Should reach a high near 17 in Marystown. Towards Gander, 15 degrees. Still have that chance of showers for most of eastern Newfoundland towards Terra Nova, Clarenville area. Grand Falls winds are 19, Harbour Breton a little cooler as those winds shift to the southerlies. And then Port aux Basques 15, 16 in Stephenville. Corner Brook looks like you should reach a high near 17 degrees. And then again, that chance of showers for the northern peninsula, St. Anthony, 10 degrees. The morning will likely be RDF along the coast, and then we should see some clearing skies there. But look at these temperatures for Lab City. 26 degrees should be the afternoon high with plenty of sunshine. You can start when we start to see those oranges and yellows in behind that, with those temperatures staying quite warm. And we can thank that southerly wind for that. So 20 to 30 kilometer per hour winds tomorrow. Happy Valley, Goose Bay should reach a high near 21. And then those double-digit temperatures along the coast, though. Still with some easterlies, though, somewhere between 20 to 30 kilometers per hour. Now, We should reach the 20-degree mark for the city as we head through the next couple of days. We'll have all those details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. A kinder, friendlier image of the downtown is popping up on posters in St. John's. The sayings take a very different approach from the Crime Stoppers campaign that was halted after a public outcry. These posters are the work of Twillingate artist Nina Elliott. She put a few of them up along Duckworth Street in response to the Crime Stoppers campaign, one many felt portrayed the downtown in an inaccurate and unflattering light. Now, Elliott used doilies and spray paint to counter the Crime Stoppers messages, examples of reported criminal activity.
A new traveling exhibit is trading a little faith and trust in exchange for some pixie dust. In Torbay this weekend, fairy folklore was on display in a modern way. I'm speaking in rhyme for reasons I don't quite understand. Here and Now's Meg Roberts swung by to check it out.
She can't fly for very long right now, so she's got to go back into her cocoon. So she's going to rest for a little bit, and once she can fly for about 5 or 10 minutes, we'll probably be releasing her back into nature.
That's Goldie hiding in her cocoon. Goldie clipped her tiny wing on a pop can tab. Now Newfoundland Land Fairy Rescue Team is helping her recover. This fairy hologram is an attempt to get kids in the province more immersed in local stories, tall tales, and history.
It's a sense of wonder. It's something different. It's taking Newfoundland folklore and stories and presenting it in a new way where, you know, it makes sense for kids of this age and this generation.
Visitors are warned to put breadcrumbs in their pockets to keep the mean fairies away. They're then led through the exhibit by a fairy healing professor. Organizers hope to create a Disney-like experience right here at home.
I want to go to every small town I can and say, there's interesting stuff right where you are if you use your imagination. And that's really what I want to inspire kids and families about.
And it's not just for the young ones.
Well, it's not just kids, because the other day we were in Harbour Grace and a man came through. He was in his 60s and he said, I feel like a 5-year-old boy again, because people of that age know the fairy stories and they know the sort of storytelling, so they really connect to it.
The exhibit has only been operating for about 2 weeks, but organizers hope to start making stops at schools and festivals across the province. Meg Roberts, CBC News, Torbay.
Well, usually I deliver the news here every evening about all kinds of people and issues, but tonight I have some news of my own. After 37 years with the CBC, the last 30 of which I've been so honored to host Here and Now, I am retiring. My last day on the air will be June 21st, 2 Fridays from now. Many of you know I took time off earlier this year to deal with a health issue, and I was deeply touched by the concern and well wishes many of you sent my way and the warm welcome back. So my health is good now, by the way, but after a lot of reflection, it's time to turn my attention to other pursuits, whatever they may be. Not an easy decision, but mine to make, and it feels right. So, beat that news.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I still have 2 weeks left in this chair. Mm-hmm. So we'll be able to chat a bit.
Oh yeah, I hope
that
so.
Time.
Yes.
Yeah.
We should be able to. And we'll probably reflect as well because, did you say 30 years?
30 years hosting. It will be in August.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So that means we've got all kinds of great archival tape to dip into
for
the next 2 weeks.
I can't wait to see that.
With the shoulder pads and big hair.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And a farewell interview at the end.
We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, that's
now,
my news for tonight.
For those of you, because we do frequently, we've had open houses here, and a lot of you have had your pictures taken with Debbie over the years, and certainly I've had people show me pictures that they've had with you. They said, look, this was Debbie then.
Oh,
and
my
so
goodness.
if you've got a picture of you or your kids or somebody with Debbie, because a lot of people want to have pictures with Ms. Cooper, for reasons which escape me, but nonetheless, a lot of people get their pictures taken. This is before selfies were a thing. So
the old days.
Maybe even some paintings. But if you have a memento of Debbie or even a story, we'd love to hear from you. And the good thing is we get to edit them, so if they're horrendous, they won't get on the air. But I know everybody who's met Debbie is always, very happy to meet Debbie and have their picture taken. And so if you want to share a Debbie Cooper story, please send them to us. And if you've got a picture of you, maybe when you were younger or even now, Send them on, and we'll try to get them on over the next 2 weeks as we bid you farewell. Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
a big decision.
This is going to be a long 2 weeks.
I know. It is going to be a long 2 weeks.
But fun.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
let's do our jobs.
Onward. Wrapping the Raptors, a St. John's brewery is doing it. So is a cinema in Mount Pearl.
That and ahead of tonight's big game. Here Now goes live to Jurassic Park in Toronto. That's just ahead.
I just wanted to win. Win. We're gonna win tonight, right, guys?
Well, that is the roar coming from downtown Toronto, but the pre-game excitement is palpable right across the country. We are just hours away from tip-off, and Canada's Raptors are hoping to make history. It's Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Toronto Raptors have a 3-1 lead against Golden State Warriors. So joining us live from Toronto is the CBC's Greg Ross. So we can see your courtside there, Greg. What's going on at this point?
Well, we're still several hours out from game time, but everybody seems to be getting prepared here. You've got the Raptors dance pack out there on the court preparing. We've got the seats loaded with these red We the North t-shirts that everybody's going to be wearing. It could be a sea of red in here tonight for Game 5 of this NBA Finals. A lot of excitement outside the building right now. You showed some of it there. Fans lined up around Scotiabank Arena waiting to just get into Jurassic Park. They don't have tickets to come inside to watch the game. They're going to be standing outside on a rainy night in Toronto watching this game on the big screen outside Scotiabank Arena. And there are so many fans that they've had to shut down the entire street, Bremner Boulevard, that leads from Scotiabank Arena, and they've set up spots for viewing parties all the way down the street. They're expecting thousands and thousands of fans to be lined up outside Scotiabank Arena in the rain to watch this. And there was something you said that was very interesting off the top. You said Canada's Raptors, because this really is Canada's team. You go out in that lineup outside Scotiabank Arena, and there are fans from right across the country, BC to Newfoundland, all standing out there wanting to be a part of this, all wanting to be here because they say they want to be a part of history.
And they could indeed be part of history this evening. And you did say that the weather forecast is calling for damp weather, but I don't think it's going to dampen anybody's feelings, their exuberance out there from the look of it all. You did talk about what it's going to be like in Jurassic Park. What about inside where the game is going to be played? What are you expecting to see this evening?
Well, there could be a wrench thrown into the mix here for the Raptors, and that's because the Golden State Warriors, remember, this is a fantastic team, the Golden State Warriors, and one of their all-stars could be returning to the lineup tonight in Kevin Durant. He is a guy who has been injured since the second round of the playoffs. He's been out for over a month, hasn't played at all in this series, but they're hoping to get him back in the lineup as soon as possible because he is such an integral part of that team. And if he does come back, I can't imagine that he's going to be in full game shape. He might be a little rusty. He might not get a lot of minutes in this game, but just his presence is something that could be a boost for his team. Obviously, his team that has lost 2 straight games, hoping to put a stop to that tonight. But let's face it, this is the 2-time defending champion Golden State Warriors. This is a team that's been to the NBA Finals now for a 5th straight time. This is a team that is going to be coming out tonight like a wounded animal. And I'm not talking about a kitten, I'm talking about like a wounded lion. They're going to be fierce and they're going to be fighting for their lives in this game tonight. So I don't expect that this is going to be easy. The 4th win is always the toughest to get in a best-of-7 series. So the Golden State Warriors are going to come out and give it all they got tonight. So it's going to be a very interesting one, but we've seen the Raptors weather the storms before. We'll see if they can do it again tonight in Game 5 of this series.
What a big night. So many people right across the country will be watching. Late one it's going to be for you, Greg. Thanks for checking in with us. We will all be watching. That's Greg Ross in Toronto for us tonight.
Well, in case you can't make it to Jurassic Park in time for the game, here's a few places in St. John's where Raptors fans are going to be gathering tonight. If you want to watch on the biggest screen possible, your best bet is the Cineplex Theatre in Mount Pearl. Cineplex is showing the NBA Finals in a handful of locations across the country, including Mount Pearl. Best part, the tickets are free.
And if you're looking for something more like Jurassic Park, you could try the Sundance. They've got the largest patio downtown, and tonight they're setting up a big outdoor TV screen set up, of course, just for the game.
Absolutely. And if you like the sound of a cold pint, but not the idea of watching it in the cold weather, there's the Kitty Vitty Brewery Tap Room. They're staying open late for the game tonight, and they'll be serving some special beers named in honor of the Raptors, for instance.
We the North IPA.
Yeah, or a...
I know.
Lowry's Lager. Yes, or a refreshing glass of...
Kawaida Vida.
There you go. Kawaida Vida. Tip-off time, 10:30. "100 years ago, Friday, Alcock and Brown lifted off from a field in St. John's, making the first non-stop transatlantic crossing. And Dave Padden followed the path set by those pioneers. He flew in 767s across the Atlantic for Air Canada. Now, these days, he's retired, flying a small two-seater float plane, and he took Here Now's Peter Cowan for a flight to explain why he thinks it's important that we celebrate the work of those aviation pioneers.
Here we go. What is it that you like about flying? Gee, I don't know. You'd have to go back a long way, you know. I always loved airplanes. And the best way to love them is to fly them, I suppose. So I was interested in flying from a very young age, and when I hit about 19 or so, I went off to flying school and got started at it. Did it for 40 years. What particularly, it's a kind of a challenge. I guess everybody likes the challenge in their job. Just figuring things out, keeping things on track, and learning about the airplane you're assigned to. And I don't know, it's a bit of a lifelong test, you know. You're forever being tested, and passing tests feels pretty nice.
The wind is not what I thought it was. Now, my career, when I flew the Atlantic, my most difficult choice was chicken or beef, you might say. You know, it was very nice. It had its share of challenges with weather and turbulence and so on and so forth. But, you know, it was nothing compared to what Elcock and Brown did.
June 14th, 1919. Everything was ready. Last-minute adjustments were made and the plane fueled. The weather looked good, so the...
Do you ever think about Alcock and Brown? Do you ever put yourself in their shoes and think, you know, what it would be like to have to try and do what they did?
I guess I can imagine it trying to do it in this thing. You know, it went about the same speed. They flew for 16 hours. I could do this with this. I'd have to rig up a couple of more drums of fuel in it somewhere. But really, this is a bit more advanced than what they had. And even if I had enough fuel to get to Ireland, I cannot imagine doing it in that.
Do you miss flying the bigger planes? Not really. No, I can't say. I never think about it really. It had some really nice moments, and I'm glad I had those moments. But I wouldn't want to go back at it, so I guess that means I don't miss it. And no, it was a great career. I loved it, but I don't miss it.
Oh, beautiful day for a flight.
Beautiful. Right. I used to fly with my father, who was a pilot, from the time I was pretty young.
Yeah.
And that brings back a whole lot of memories. So beautiful.
There's a gorgeous side of things that flyers and pilots see that the rest of us don't on a regular basis, right? Yeah. Congratulations, Mr. Padden.
Welcome back. Time to see what else is in store weather-wise, Ashley.
Because we kind of turned a little bit of a corner, or will turn a little bit of a corner tomorrow. We'll see some warmer temperatures, which is nice.
Yep.
And they look like they'll continue into at least most of this week, really. But with that, there is a next system that's rolling in. You can see that rain there on the future tracker. It's going to move into the western portion of Labrador through the overnight hours of Tuesday night into Wednesday, and then it's going to spread across the island through the afternoon. So with this, the temperatures are not going to be too bad. We're still going to see double-digit highs, likely in the teens, with that low is going to stick around for one day anyway. There's your temperatures, mid-teens for St. John's, 16 degrees. We'll see some increasing cloud through the day with that chance of showers. 14 for Corner Brook, 16 for Happy Valley Goose Bay, and Lab City is actually going to dip down to the single digits. So after 26 potentially degrees tomorrow, Wednesday is going to feel significantly cooler. But the good news is we should start to see some relief in that way as we head towards, or at least look into Thursday. So there's that low there. Going to stick around for the first half of the day, and then we should start to see some clearing skies as that low continues to pull out. Plenty of sunshine for Lab West, and there that goes. And then the next system will move in for the weekend. But right now it's looking like Friday will stay quite nice, and then into Saturday morning, that's when we'll start to get a little bit unsettled, especially for Lab West, and then for the western portion of the island as well. So here's a look at the next couple of days for St. John's and Eastern Newfoundland. 14 degrees tomorrow, so teen temperatures. Afternoon rain for Wednesday, but we should see that sun peek out through the first half of the day. So 16 degrees, and then likely reaching the 20-degree mark for Thursday. It's also going to feel a little bit humid as well, so feeling closer to maybe 22, 23 degrees through the afternoon with plenty of sunshine. Friday still looking nice at 16 degrees, and then a little cooler on Saturday. Hopefully we'll see more sun than cloud for the first half of the day anyway, with that potential for some showers moving in late afternoon. For central Newfoundland, 19 degrees tomorrow. A little bit of a dip in those temperatures for Wednesday as we see those periods of rain move in. But again, beautiful and humid on Thursday with 24 degrees, it looks like, as of now, with plenty of sunshine. And then that rain will move in for Friday, and then unsettled on Saturday again as well, around 15 degrees. For western Newfoundland, 17 tomorrow, a little bit muggy on Wednesday, and 14 degrees, and then 22 for your Thursday with plenty of sunshine. Definitely the best day of the week so far, it looks like. Friday, 20 degrees, so still going to stay quite warm with that chance of showers. And then for Eastern Labrador tomorrow, 21 degrees, mainly for Happy Valley Goose Bay. Towards the coast, those temperatures will likely be in the double digits. 16 and 18 for your Wednesday and Thursday, and then back to those 20-degree temperatures, it looks like, to start the weekend, which is good news there. For Western Labrador, 26 degrees tomorrow, a dip in that temperature, like I mentioned, 7 degrees for Wednesday, and then 16 for your Thursday. So let's look at your forecast. I'll have your weather photo when I come back.
Thank you, Ashley. To national news now. The Prime Minister says it's time Canada phased out single-use plastics. Speaking from a nature reserve outside Montreal, Justin Trudeau said they're a problem for the whole planet.
Recognize that plastics isn't just a Canadian problem, it's a global problem. Indeed, 90% of the plastics in our ocean come from just 10 rivers around the world.
Details of a countrywide ban are still being worked out, but it should be in place as early as 2021. It's likely to follow the same model the European Union uses, which prohibits plastic bags, straws, and other items. Critics say they're worried about the timeline for the new measures. They're concerned about the potential impact on jobs, too. A Calgary woman says she is scared to fly because she was so badly mistreated by Canadian Border Services in Vancouver. She says she was falsely accused of being a drug smuggler and strip searched. And an investigation by CBC's Go Public has found hundreds of other allegations of misconduct by border guards. Erica Johnson has the details, which some might find disturbing.
It always comes back to Jill Knapp when she travels. 3 years ago, the software instructor and Sunday school teacher was connecting through Vancouver Airport on her way home to Calgary after a trip to Mexico. She's singled out for what's called secondary inspection. There, she says, a border officer was almost instantly aggressive.
He actually raised his voice at me and said, "I think you're a drug smuggler." And he said, "I deal with people like you every day."
That officer checks her suitcase. Nothing. Calls in a sniffer dog. Nothing.
I actually saw the rage come out of him, like he was mad that they couldn't find anything.
He confiscates her phone, detains her. She asks for a lawyer, but one never shows up. Hungry and exhausted, worried her parents in Calgary have no idea where she is, Jill Knapp learns the only way she'll be released is if she agrees to a strip search.
So I had nothing on from the waist down, and they actually made me turn around, open up my butt cheeks, and squat.
This civil liberties advocate says Knapp's treatment was out of line.
It's incredibly concerning that somebody would be forced into a situation where they agreed to a strip search just to end a detention. Also, it drives home the real power that CBSA agents have.
We're trained to read between the lines.
With that power comes a code of conduct.
With professionalism, integrity, and respect.
CBC did an access to information request for Canada's big 3 airports in Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal, asking for complaints about officer misconduct over 2 years. We discover hundreds of other travelers alleging they've been yelled at, bullied, even threatened.
It's completely unacceptable, and I have to say kind of repulsing that people go through this when they're simply trying to travel to their destination. Something really needs to be done.
We asked the CBSA to come on camera and explain. It declined. In documents we obtained about Knapp's case, the CBSA determined its own officers followed standard procedures and guidelines. Jill Knapp says she was so traumatized, she's developed anxiety.
My husband's going to Mexico in July to see his mom, and I'm terrified to go. It's hard because I love their family, and I want to see them, and I'm scared.
Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
I was born in Gander, and CBC was always on in our house. I never dreamed I'd be one of the faces of Here and Now. I love being outdoors, and that's why I love this place. Our boys spent their summers salmon fishing on the Gander River. The best part of my job is the people I meet. I'm always amazed at how open and giving people are. We have a long and trusted history. I'm so proud to be part of that.
Yes, and Debbie, you certainly are. I couldn't help but notice that fish.
I
Sorry,
know.
I know you're leaving and all, but
all he cares about is salmon fishing.
but you'll have time to do that. You'll have time to do more of it.
Yes.
On your beloved Gander River.
As I've said many times, the salmon have nothing to fear from me. I enjoy being out there, but I haven't caught that many.
Oh, really?
Quite the
No.
reaction on social media to Debbie's
Yes.
announcement tonight. So lots and lots, hundreds, I think, of people so far wishing you all the best.
Oh, I'm done now. I think I'll just leave. I've said goodbye. See y'all.
Yeah.
No, it's a couple of more Fridays
Yes.
From now. So
It's the last day, our first day of summer. Did that on purpose, hey?
Yes. No, accident, but I'll
Timing.
take it.
Timing is everything.
You better deliver some good weather there, Ashley.
I'll work on it. Just for you, Debbie.
Okay.
More
well,
highlights of your wonderful career in the 2 weeks that come. You're not gone. We're not done with you yet. Anyway, congratulations.
Yes,
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And that is it for tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.